I went out this afternoon. Jan was working at the antique shop, and I thought I'd run by there for a few minutes. And while I was there, she gave me some items to bring home with me that I can use for one of my stories. And it's going to be something that I hope you will really like. So I've got to do a lot of reading and preparing for that. But in the meantime, I came home and I was a little sluggish. My eyes had been burning, and when they get watery, my nose gets runny. Do I have to tell you the whole 9 yards? You know what I'm talking about. I've never had allergies in my life, and this just doesn't seem to me like allergy weather, but I'll bear with it. In fact, the other night, this one eye was just burning and watering, and I said, well, I don't know what to do. There's nothing I can do. I just went in the bathroom, pulled out my Vaseline, got a little dab on my finger and rubbed it all over my eye and under my eye. You know what? My eye quit burning and quit watering. Now, I'm not recommending this as a remedy, but it worked, and I've never known Vaseline to hurt you in any way. Always helped, if anything else. So, anyway, that eye's trying to water a little bit tonight, so I may have to do the same thing. But the reason I'm on now is I've been reading my comments from viewers, and you ask for quite a few things that I say I will try or I will do, and some of these things I'm going to forget, but hopefully I'll get around to fulfilling your wishes sooner or later. So don't get disturbed if I don't think I'm ignoring what you're asking for. But I understand when some of you have your own problems at home, you have illness, you reach an age where there are problems. There have been strokes, the heart attack, there's diabetes, there's a little bit of everything, and we all have a little something in our lives that will pull us down, and we need something that will build us up. We need something that will make us smile or put us on another train of thought, something pleasant. And sometimes you ask me to read a story, or you ask me to read the poetry. I keep saying I'm going to do that. Well, I just finished reading Lady. She's tired by the end of the day. Husband's had a stroke. It can get to you, you know. It's not that you don't want to take care of the needs, but it's tiring. And sometimes you just need something to pull your thoughts into another world. You want to be able to close your eyes and just relax and feel good. And I've been asked to read a story. Why not? I'm going to read you a story. Now, this is one of my stories, and I hope I don't bore you with it, but if I put you to sleep, that may be a good thing. Maybe you're relaxed enough now that my story will make you fall asleep. So maybe we'll get almost to the end before that happens. Now, I had entitled this story, I'm reading it from another smaller iPad. So you don't have to watch me. Just sit back in your chair, get you something to drink. And just, if you're in a rocking chair, that's great comfort. And you can listen. Just close your eyes and listen. This is entitled, When I Was a Child. There's something or someone in every child's life that cannot be forgotten. It's like a beautiful dream, only it was real. I've written about this before because it was one of my favorite childhood memories. I drive along the highway occasionally, looking up to the end of the long dirt road, and what I remember seeing is not there anymore. The sunken valley before me has been filled with dirt, somewhat like a landfill. The pretty white house sitting in the background with a covered front porch is gone. All I see is construction equipment, barren land, and excavation at the side of the hill. There aren't any cows up behind the house that once grazed on the little 8-acre farm. It saddened me to see part of my childhood dreams all gone. No one would ever know it had been there, but I know and remember. I loved to write about that little 8-acre farm because it was like going to Grandma's house in the country. But I didn't have a grandma who lived in the country. She died when I was a baby, and I never got to know her. There wasn't a big 2-story house and farm with baby chicks, guineas, geese, and calves for me to play with. Sometimes I lived in a Walt Disney World. I went to the movies when I was old enough to go alone or with my girlfriend. I saw Song of the South with Uncle Remus and Bobby Driscoll as one of the children. The movie was in Technicolor. I loved watching Uncle Remus and the children skipping up the lane singing zippity-doo-dah. I can't sing. My voice box is kind of messed up. Anyway, the animated animals hopped along behind them, and the bluebird chirped their tunes as they flew around the children. Oh, how delightful that was for me in that day and time. I could close my eyes and pretend I was among the children, carrying fishing poles over our shoulders and skipping up the lane. There was also the movie I remember so well called So Dear to My Heart. I wanted to live on that farm with the little white lamb. Beulah Bondi was the grandmother, and Burl Ives playing his ukulele and singing Lavender Blue. I never forgot that song. Do you know the words to Lavender Blue? Lavender blue, dilly dilly, lavender green. You were my queen, dilly dilly, I'll be your king. Who told me so, dilly dilly? Who told me so? I told myself, dilly dilly, I told me so. All of these were childhood dreams to me. I lived them out through the movies until Daddy bought the little 8-acre farm in the north end of town. The pretty white house was rented to a young couple who treated us kids like family when we came to visit the farm. Daddy had planted a garden in the valley below, and when he would go out on weekends to work the garden, we kids piled into the back of his pickup truck, trailed along with him. I can almost feel the breeze blowing my hair away from my face as I think about those days. I couldn't wait to get there. The lady of the house would take us through and into her kitchen where we kids were all given a big glass of cold water. A couple of our friends went with my sister, brother, and me. We left the kitchen through a breezeway that led to a smokehouse built into the side of the hill. I'd never seen anything like that before. The back door took us outside to a goldfish pond. There were dozens of goldfish swimming around, something we never had back home. It was the prettiest yard I had ever seen, so green, almost like smooth velvet. There were flowers everywhere. I mostly remember the irises growing beside a row of bushes. That led us to the strawberry patch. I loved picking enough strawberries to take home to Mama. My sister and I wandered around until we came to the best part of our visit, a huge circle of tall, thick bushes. Now you have to imagine this. We didn't see them as anything but just bushes until we noticed two large stones placed side by side. Now, these were large stones. Let's see, where was I? There seemed to be a beaten path between the stones, so our curiosity got the best of us. There must be something inside that circle of bushes. We crept hesitantly between the stones, and after taking a few more steps, we were stunned by what we saw. Inside the circle was a water garden with a fountain in the center, spraying water in the shape of an open umbrella. Water lilies with large colorful blossoms spread across the pond. Small frogs hopped across from one lily to another. It was like the Uncle Remus movie. I felt like I'd been transcended into a make-believe world. It soon became my secret garden. I may need something to drink here. Kind of dries my throat, so you take a drink too while I do. Now, speaking of the secret garden, you might even remember a movie called The Secret Garden. Oh, that movie was made at least 4 times, and one of those times was with Margaret O'Brien. Now, if you're my age, you remember Margaret O'Brien. Oh gosh, she was such a good actor, and I thought she was so smart. But The Secret Garden had always been special to me. I could imagine myself in that secret garden. And if you ever get the chance to see one of those movies, now there were other actresses that I don't remember their names. Margaret O'Brien, the only one I recall. If you ever get a chance to watch The Secret Garden, and if you have children, young children, or grandchildren, let them watch it too, because it's the kind of movie that sticks with you no matter what age you are. Okay, I'm going to go on. Week by week, we kids hopped in the back of Daddy's truck to go to the farm. There was so much more to see and do. I wasn't used to farm animals. I was a city girl. Colorful roosters roamed around the yard, and when my sister got a little too friendly with them, they chased her across the grass, and she couldn't run fast enough to stay ahead of them. They flogged her. I stood back and laughed. Oh, gee, did I get my fun that day. Our adventurous spirit took over during each trip with Daddy. On one visit, we followed a path up the hill to where cows were grazing. A huge watering trough stood beside the area where the cows were fenced in. From there, we moved on to the top of the hill. The last thing we expected to see there was an apple orchard. Oh my, the apples were almost ready for picking. I knew we had come back to the farm again when we would let me start again. I knew we had to come back to the farm again when we could gather a basket full of apples for Mama. There seemed to be something interesting at every twist and turn. We took a different direction coming back down the hill. Much to our surprise, we came to the biggest rock I had ever seen. It looked like it was growing out of the side of the hill. I spotted a long plank at the other end of the rock. It was about 10 inches wide. It was like a bridge leading from the rock to the top of a small black barn. We could walk across the plank and we could be on the roof of the barn. That would be the climax of our tour of the farm. I started across the plank, trying to keep my balance. I backed up. When I saw how far down the ground was below me, oh my, the distance between the plank and the ground didn't faze my sister. She climbed on that wide plank, raised her arm for balance, and slowly slid her feet across the wooden board until she was on top of the barn. Next, she jumped onto the huge rock and slid down to the ground. Now that rock was as slick as the slide you used to play on in the park. We hated when Daddy came up from his garden, ready to head home. Daddy eventually sold the farm. We never made another trip. When I see what has happened to the 8-acre, the removal of the house, and the landfill created in its place, it nearly brings me to tears. My secret garden, with its beautiful flowers, chirping birds, and butterflies, and little gravel path surrounding the fountain, is not there anymore. The water garden and goldfish pond were destroyed. All that is left are my memories. They will remain forever. I can almost paint the picture in my mind of the little 8-acre farm from my childhood. That's the kind of story and the kind of situation that lives with you, no matter what your age is. And I'm always reminded of Margaret O'Brien in The Secret Garden. I think I want to see if I can find that movie. I want to see it again. There's nothing like looking at the flowers, the birds, the butterflies, the little frogs. Yes, if only I could go back one more time to my secret garden. So I hope this has relaxed you You can put away your worries, your fears, close your eyes, and have a good night's sleep. Thank you for listening to me.